Hi, everyone. This is Cheryl, and welcome back to That's It. The Democrats. They have a lot of nerve. They have a lot of nerve now speaking out, doing book deals, trying to be independent. And now they have this whole epiphany that they were lied to, that they just found out that, Joe Biden had mentally declined, like his health wise. Like they didn't know when all this time that they were warned by many people, the Republican, other people, and then they ignore the signs. They ignore the red flags. And everyone was trying to tell these people, or the Democrat parties, that there's something that's not right with Joe Biden, meaning that his mental health, it was declining. But everyone tried to gaslight us and say, no, he's fine. He's sharp as a tool. He's the president of the United States. There's nothing wrong with him, when apparently there was something wrong with him. There was something very, very off about his mental capacity. But everyone just gaslighted us. The media was just like saying, no, this is not true, even though we have our own eyes to see. And they're saying that, Joe Biden's fine. He just had a minor cold, COVID. When all this time that he was not even running the country for the last 4 years. Someone was running it for him. Someone was helping him. And now you have Jake Taper, writing a book about Joe Biden, like how he just had epiphany that he just found out that everything was just a lie. And this is the book Original Sin, President Biden, Cover Up. And I'm thinking to myself, you knew that there was something off about President Biden, and you chose not to do anything. You dropped the ball. And when people were pointing it out to you among other people, you thought they were crazy, you thought they were disrespectful, you thought that they were just making this all up, when all reality, they were right this whole time about his mental health was declining, that he was just not all there, that he was stumbling with his words. He pretended that someone was with him. He was having a conversation with someone. Mike Johnson told him that he signed some orders and that he doesn't recall signing it. And then Mike Johnson told him, yes, you did, which I'm going to show you the video of. It's just, there was so much proof in the pudding, and then people knew about it, and the Joe Biden administrator, they knew about it and they did nothing. And to me, that's elderly abuse. You knew that this man was mentally declined, and you kept pushing and pushing because all you wanted the narrative to win, for him to be the next president again, when that didn't happen, you guys. It didn't happen, because with that debate last year on June 27th of 2024 with Donald Trump, and the whole world has seen it with our own two eyes, they had to do damage control. They knew that they made a mistake. They knew that Joe Biden was really done, meaning that he was not capable to continue to run for president, that they had to do damage control, as we all know, that they had to have Kamala Harris to step in. Now, let me just jog your guys' memory about the debate with President Trump and former Joe Biden. Just to jog your memory, you guys, about this the debate. There you go.
Do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they've raised $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Pause. Now, as you all know, I believe Jake Taper was the one that was doing the debate last year, and he knew that something was not right with Joe Biden. Obviously, we all see that, including him. But then he just ignore it. He didn't want to do any investigation. Like, he didn't want to see what everyone else was seeing. Like, basically, he just didn't want to see the real truth. And even though he wrote this book and now he's trying to expose the people, like, anyone cares, like, we all told you, like, I told you so, which this book is a #1 bestseller in New York Times. Congratulations to Jake. Now he's making money, promoting this book, when all along we were telling him and everyone else that there's something wrong with Joe Biden. His mental health has declined, and no one didn't want to believe anyone. Again, we were lying. The media was just spinning this off, saying that Joe Biden is fine. He's great. He's running the country. And all along, he was not running the country. Someone was running it for him. Someone was making the executive decision for this country. And that's why Donald Trump is cleaning it up and trying to fix the damage that the Joe Biden administration had made. Okay? Now, I want to show you this clip of Jake Tapper with Laura Trump when he was attacking her because he thought that she was attacking Joe Biden because of his stuttering. Now, as everyone, not everyone, it just brought to my attention, I didn't know Joe Biden had a stutter problem, and I don't think that she would make an issue about the stutter. She was just saying that there's something not right with his mental health, and that's what she was trying to point out. But Jake Tapper was trying to embarrass Lauren Trump and trying to make it seem like she was like kind of like bullying or making fun of Joe Biden because of his stuttering, and she was just making it very clear to Jake that is not the case. And I want you guys to take a look at this footage and take a look at it for yourself.
Listen to that.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have no app. That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
When you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you, your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say...
diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
Okay, pause right there. So, now, the nerve of Jake, downplaying it and trying to embarrass Laura Trump, saying that she's making fun of Joe Biden when she made it absolutely clear that's not the issue. Sorry, it's my phone. That's not the issue. Okay, the issue is something is not right with his health, with his mental state, and that's all she was trying to clarify and tell Jake. But he didn't want to hear it. He tried to cut her off and was very short with her. He didn't want to hear it until the truth came out, and he realized, and that's why he's writing this book, show it to you again, this book, Original Sin, and he realized, oh, she was right this whole time. Everyone was right the whole time, and I was wrong. And at least, you know what, with Jake, I can tell him he apologized. He was man enough to apologize to Laura Trump and to other people that he did interviews with. He did an interview with Piers Morgan, among other shows as well, that he apologized. He was wrong. He should have done more investigation because he's a reporter. You know what I mean? When you see something off, you have to report it. Whether if it makes you feel uncomfortable or not, that's your job. When you see something is off or hear something that's off, that's your job to report it. Obviously, do your research properly and get all the facts before you publish something and put it out there. But he didn't do such thing. He just said, no, pump the brakes. What you're saying is wrong. What you're saying is not true. But anyway, at the end of the day, he realized he was wrong and he apologized. So I'm going to give him kudos for that. But hopefully, there is a lesson for Jake that next time, if something doesn't seem right, do your investigation. But now he's, profiting, this book and making money when he should have just done this since a long time ago. That's the point that I'm getting at. He should have done this a long time ago. Now, I want to show you this another video, this last video of Mike Johnson talking to one of the press reporter that he had a conversation with Joe Biden, and then he said that Joe Biden signed something, and Joe Biden, I'm paraphrasing this, Joe Biden said he didn't sign it, and then Mike Johnson said, yes, you did sign it. So it was like a whole back and forth thing, and Mike Johnson said, this is strange because he did sign this executive order, and now he's saying he didn't sign it. And again, this is the whole gaslighting. Everyone knew in that White House they were doing something off. Even his wife knew. The Kamala Harris, the VP, Karine, Jean-Pierre. Everyone knew Joe Biden health issue, and no one didn't say or do anything because, again, they love the power. They love to be on top. Instead of like taking care of this man's well-being and his health and finding a doctor for him to check everything and make sure everything is right, they just ignored it. And then they just throw him underneath the bus saying that it's his fault, he did this, did that, when other people should be the blame of this. It's not only Joe Biden. I'm not fully putting Joe Biden responsible for this. Other people that worked for Joe Biden was aware of this, and they should be responsible. They should take accountability for what they did to him because they knew that something was not right with him and his mental state. And then they still continue to play this charade, act like everything is happening, especially fooling the American people. Fooling the American people like the American people don't have eyes to see and see what's going on. And then they use the media for propaganda to say, oh no, everything is fine. What you're seeing is not right. It's not right, but it's not it's incorrect. When all reality, it was true. We were right about Joe Biden. We were right about his mental health. That it was just not there. But again, no one didn't want to believe us or believe the American people or believe people where they were telling everyone that something was not right with Joe Biden. So take a look, listen to this last video. Look, this is long. There we go. Of Mike Johnson, what he has to say. And this was the Free Press, that interview that he did a while back ago.
And I say this without any personal animus at all. I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry for Joe Biden. I mean, he's in the twilight years of his life. He is not, obviously, has not been in charge for some time.
Exactly,
and I know this by
not in
personal
charge.
observation, and now the whole world knows it. And it's been very, very concerning to me over the last, year and a half since I've had this position.
Can you tell us a story when you say personal observation? What
well, I mean,
this
it's public now because the Wall Street Journal got it and put it on the front page. But January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked. I became speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on. And I started requesting a meeting with the president because I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. The Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and the staff kept giving me excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill Press Corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, the CIA director, everybody. And then so I walked in the Oval and I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down. We're in the midst of it, and the whole conversation. And I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Will y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the lawn. They're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander-in-chief. So everybody leaves. He and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard and I think you know, and what do we do? But first,
Real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him.
Right.
And he looks at me, stunned, and he said, I didn't do that. I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order, 3 weeks ago. He goes, no, I didn't do that. He's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the terminal, the export terminal in my state.
That's
I talked
$1 million
to this
question.
morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy and national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who.
Pause. Exactly. Who was running the country? That is scary, okay? It's mind-boggling, and Mike Johnson had a valid point to be scared and to be nervous because he didn't know who signed it. Joe Biden don't remember that he signed it. And so who signed that executive order? Who signed it? And again, who was running the country for the last 4 years? Who was calling the shots? And again, we don't know that answer. So yes, it is very scary and nerve-wracking that we don't even know who was running the country for the last 4 years. It wasn't Joe Biden, that's for sure.
Put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
There you go. There you have it. He did not know. Oops, sorry. He did not know. He had no idea. Scary. Had no idea. And then you have this woman, this fool, Karine, Jean-Pierre, wrote a book called Independent, okay? Now she's saying that she is removing herself from the Democrat Party, that she's independent. Now she's wrote this book telling every detail about the White House and everything. And I'm like, what is she? She was in charge of everything. She's the one who done all the press release and everything and talking to the reporters. And now you want to air your dirty laundry? Listen, no one's not buying it, okay? You are a crock of you-know-what, okay? No one's not buying your two-faced lies. No one's not buying anything. You were the main person who said that Joe Biden was okay, that he is, I'm just paraphrasing, he's sharp as a horse, that he got everything under control when you knew all this time for the last 3.5 years to 4 that he was mentally declined, that he was slowing down. There was something wrong with his health issue. You knew this, and now you're trying to gaslight the public and write this stupid, ridiculous book, Independent, and you want to go independent yourself? Girl, bye. Talking nonsense. You're just crazy. That's just so crazy to me when you told the reporters, you told everyone Joe Biden was fine, and now you going backwards, not backwards, but now you trying to gaslight us again, the American people, which we're not falling for, saying that you were fooled yourself. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. Okay? You're not fooling me. You're not fooling the American people. And sure enough, maybe you may fool the Democrats, but you sure ain't fooling the Republicans because they knew what you know. Okay? I have to say they all knew what was going on with Joe Biden, and they did absolutely nothing. And shame on them. Shame on them, because that is their responsibility to protect the president and their well-being and their state of mind and everything. And they failed Joe Biden, including his wife. What's his wife's name? Dr. Biden. She's not even a freaking doctor. Shame on her. But no, she just wanted the power. She wanted the power and everything. She thought she could run the country herself. Thank God she did not. Okay? I'm just sick of the Democrats. It's and to be honest with you, I'm not surprised of all this. They've been warned so many times about Joe Biden, and now you're trying to write a book, maybe do a video, and now you're trying to clean up your mess. Girl, bye, boy, bye. I'm just tired of it because you all knew what was going on, and now you're trying to go to another side and say, oh, I just need to tell my story and tell the truth. No, you should have told the truth 4 years ago. And now it's a little too late. Too late. And no one's not falling for it. Not the American people. no one's not falling for it. I hope and pray none of you buy this book, Independent. Don't buy it because it's just going to be a waste of your money and your time. Frankly, if it was up to me, if I had, some type of power, the people that were involved in Joe Biden, they would all be in prison right now because they knew and then they just continued to lie and cover up and do all these crazy things that actually almost ruin our country. But thank God for Donald Trump, President Trump, is making America great again, and he's cleaning up the mess that Joe Biden administrative team or whatever screwed everything up. Because again, Joe Biden was not running the president. Someone else was calling the shots, and we don't know who. And we will never know because that's the government. They cover and hide things up. We will never know what really happened in those 4 years under Joe Biden. We will never know. They're going to tell you, we're not going to know. We still don't even know what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? The files is on Pam Bondi's desk. She still have not released any names. Will the names be ever released? Absolutely not. That's the government. They're not going to tell us, okay? They're just giving us the runaround, okay? Which we should know. And the people that were involved in this, it was not just only Jeffrey Epstein that's involved in it. There's other people that were involved in the sex trafficking operation, okay? A lot of white collars, blue collars, or whatever you call them, okay? Only one person is serving time. That's Ghislaine Maxwell. Serving 20-year sentence? She's the only one. Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead, okay? Someone killed him to shut him up. Who else is involved? There's more people involved, and Pam Bondi knows, and she's not doing anything. She's not releasing any names. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? These are some high, powerful people that she's not releasing names. Because I'm telling you, and I said it in my my 3-part series of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm thinking Jeffrey Dahmer's, the serial killer. I'm getting these names mixed up. Anyway, I don't know who she's protecting. Why the names are not being released? The man is dead, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell, she's serving her time. Why these other people cannot be exposed? Why these victims can't have justice? It's been how many years and there's still not any justice for these victims that were sexually abused as minors and everything? It's just ridiculous. Release the names. Get the names on it and prosecute these people who were involved in the sex trafficking ring. No, I don't. It will never happen. That's just my opinion. It's never going to happen. I'm not holding my breath here because she said that it was going to happen. She was going to release names. She released some flight logs that you can barely see, you can barely read, and it's a bunch of bullshit and nonsense, okay? If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it fully. Don't do it half-assed, because no one doesn't like a half-assed job, okay? If you're going to release the names of the perpetrator that was involved, because like I keep saying, there's always someone ahead of the snake. There's always a head of the snake. There's not only just one person. There's always the head of the snakes that calls the shots. Then you have the middleman, then another person, then another person. It's like a big, not a triangle, a pyramid, okay? There's always someone on top, then you have someone else. It's like, having generals, when you're in the Army or in the Marines, you have someone above you, just like your bosses and stuff like that. You always have someone. If you work in corporate, you always have someone higher up. And just like I said, with Sean Diddy Combs, he didn't act alone. He had someone higher up. Jeffrey Epstein, he had someone higher up. There's always someone that's ahead of the snake that is in control of a lot of things. And we will never know the names. The names will not be released because even though there's a black book of names that Jeffrey Epstein has wrote who was involved, and they have it, the government have it, but will they release it? Probably not. So I'm not holding my breath if that's going to happen. They was going to release Martin Luther King assassination. They have not done that yet. They're only just JFK. But anyway, we don't even know if that's true or not. But anyway, I don't want to keep rambling on. But that's all I have to say about that note. So let me know what you think about this video. And if you do like it, please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts about what I just said about everything, about Joe Biden, the whole cover-up. And you know what? The Democrat knew. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't know why they're trying to act like they're the victims here, and when they're not, the American people are the victims. The American people are who are suffering for the last 4 years with the economy, with the inflation, with the gas prices and food and everything, rents going up high, the open border, crimes. The American people were affected by this, and now they seem like the Democrats seem like they're the victims. Bye, goodbye. We don't want to hear that nonsense. Okay, now the truth is coming out. Now you're trying to, say your piece or say or whatever. Anyway, I'm done with that. And that's all I have to say about that note. So let me know what you think, and please comment and let me know your thoughts about this whole charade, about this whole Joe Biden and Jean-Pierre, her book about independent, and then Jake Taper about his book, Original Sins. It's just very crazy. I'm definitely not buying none of these books because they knew about this, and now they're trying to make money and profit money for themselves, even though they knew. And that's very sad. That's very sad and terrible. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry, you guys, I keep rambling on. I promise you I am done. Thank you so much for watching. That's it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.